Hi, I'm Dave Artley with the Denver Brass. Today, I'll share some exercises that will help you establish great fundamentals when it comes to your breathing. Let's take a real quick look at how we practice this. Okay, so those are the fundamentals. Now we practice this. This is something that I do as part of my daily routine. I have about 7 different steps that I always go through, and I always start with breathing. If you want to know the other steps of my daily routine, well, then that's the information for another mini masterclass. This breathing exercises are always the first thing I do, and I do this at the beginning of the day, the first time I play in the day, but I also do this every time I pick up the instrument. So if I practice in the morning and then I have a rehearsal in the evening, before I sit down to kind of get myself going again, warm up for that rehearsal or a concert, I'll do some of this basic breathing steps of my routine. So our first step is just to do some deep breathing. And I use the hand, and I put the hand on my belly. I do the tap tap to send the motion to the brain. Because if you've noticed, this breath is not how we breathe when we're just sitting around the classroom, the office, the dinner table. If you sat in your classroom and you leaned over to your buddy and said, "Hi, can you help me with that math problem? I'm having a lot of problems," they think you're weird, right? But that's how we have to breathe for the wind instrument, for playing a brass instrument. So we have to restart and refocus our body and our brain and our breathing to switch gears and get into the gear of being a brass player again. So I just do some deep breathing exercises. I tap tap, I have my hand. A couple of notes about that. First of all, if you notice, I don't breathe inhale evenly across the whole breath. I tend to fill more towards the back part of the breath. If there was a curve, it would be like this. And as I get higher, I'm filling up more. And that's because I don't want to get bound up and tense. Now, I can take that inhalation and stay relaxed. But if you think about filling kind of towards the back part of the breath, it's easier to keep the tension out of your chest. The other notice, or thing you should know about doing these deep breathing, is when we're just sitting here talking, this provides a lot more oxygen than you probably need. In essence, you might find yourself hyperventilating a little bit. So if you start to feel a little bit lightheaded, I tell my students, just enjoy the feeling. If you feel dizzy, put your head down a little bit and let the pass. But that's just your body getting more oxygen than it needs because you're not actually then blowing it through the trumpet. When we get going with the instrument, you won't have that issue. So we've done a couple deep breathing exercises. Oh, ho. And now I start to introduce oh, inhale, toe. And that's using that articulation, a nice T front to our articulation. And so it sounds like this. There may be a little bit of variation in that exhale syllable, depending on your instrument. Our low brass friends will tend to very much with the O. They don't have quite the back pressure that the smaller instruments like the trumpet has. Okay, so the larger instruments may stick with that toe and move that wind through the instrument that way. Trumpet players, we need to overcome a little bit of that back pressure. So our exhalation, especially as we get higher, will be a little bit more and that's actually not a sound that we have in our English language. If you look in the German language, an O with the 2 dots and umlaut over it, good, those kind of sounds. But the closest, we can kind of get close to it in English. If you say few, kind of that way. Or if you try to say the word bird, but without the R, so there's some sounds you can make with that exhalation that gives a little bit more speed to the wind for the higher brass players to overcome that back pressure. So we've done some deep breathing, just straight in and out. Oh, ho. Let's do a couple exercises in tempo, because music is in time. One of the definitions you might use for music is its sound organized in time somehow. It may be very loosely organized, like a more modern piece, bloop, 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 bloop. But there's some sort of time there. And so with that pulse, we need to be able to practice breathing in time. If you're with a conductor, when a conductor gives the upbeat, we call that a prep beat. Usually, when I'm playing with the conductor, I'll breathe on that preparatory beat. If you were going to count us off, you'd go 1, 2, 3. So I would inhale with that prep beat, the upbeat with the conductor's hand, and exhale on his or her downbeat. We don't always play with a conductor, right? We might be in chamber music, we might be in the quintet, or if you're practicing on your own. So I want you to establish that pulse. And just the easiest way to do this is to think as if we were in 4/4 time. If we're in 4/4 time in a moderate tempo, I'm going to think 1, 2, 3, inhale where 4 would be, exhale where 1 would be. That's as if we're starting right on the downbeat of a 4/4 bar. So it looks like this. And I've still got my hands. I'm still trying to feel. I'm thinking 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes we don't start on 1, do we? But if you use that same idea that at a moderate tempo, I'm going to breathe 1 beat before. Let's say it's a pickup beat 4 that we have to start on. So we're going 1, 2, 3, toe, toe. My breathing would be on what count? Yes, beat 3. So I'm thinking 1, 2. Music happens at all different speeds. So you need to practice this breathing in tempo at different speeds. I've got my kind of a medium tempo. 1, 2, 3. I have to do it slow. 1, 2, 3. And I might have to do it fast. 1, 2, 3. Now, when tempos get really fast, I may breathe over a couple counts. It's whatever I have to do to not let any tension creep into my chest when I'm breathing. So if I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, I may breathe over 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Whatever it takes to stay relaxed, make room to expand and let a big amount of air rush into the lungs. So there's my breathing exercises to get myself focused, my body focused on an effective breathing for the instrument. That is the fundamental skill. And as a fundamental, it's like we're building our foundation beneath our house. Everything we do adds to that. So when we pick up the mouthpiece to do a mouthpiece buzz, I'm still going to breathe the same way. Now I can't have my hand out here, but I can have my hand here. So I may think 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Or really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. But that breath is still, that inhalation and exhalation is still the same. One of your skills is to know when that's not happening and be able to step back. So if it's not, my buzz isn't working. 1, 2, 3. The first thing I do is I ask myself, what was happening with the breathing? And if you notice there, I kind of held my breath and I put tension. So there was no energy. There was no wind moving across my lips. So I go back and I practice. I isolate that breathing only. 1, 2, 3. To reestablish that proper breath. Now I can put the mouthpiece back in. 1, 2, 3. Don't be afraid to take a step back, or 2 or 3 steps back, to go back and reestablish that breathing. We can use some imagery on this exhale part that helps us with making that wind move outward with energy. It's that energetic wind stream that gives us all of our sound and our technique. Once again, I'm using the articulation of a T syllable. If you say time to talk, that's the basic simple T, time to talk, very light T. And when I'm adding my articulation, and this is a whole nother masterclass, but I just want to get to the wind part of this. Our goal is to get the tongue out of the way and blow the tongue out of the way and get to the wind. We're trying to go, and some little visual imagery you can use in your head. And this is from our friends Sam Palafian and Pat Sheridan. And you can look this information up at their breathing gym. There's some great videos on YouTube. The imagery of when I'm breathing for loud, for full, fortissimo or forte dynamics. They use the imagery of shooting an arrow. So the breathing is still the same here. We're still having the inhales here. But I'm releasing that air with my articulation. And you notice how my fingers are releasing the string for the arrow. That ties exactly with my articulation, my tongue. So this imagery again is make lots of room, be relaxed, and shoot that arrow. And remember, when an arrow moves, it's moving out there. And so the wind is really out here moving. And when I do this, I put my hand out here and I can still feel the wind on the back of my hand. 1, 2, 3. If I'm going to do a kind of medium mezzo dynamics, I don't need quite the forceful energy to the wind, but I still need it to be moving outward and forward. Okay, all of our wind is moving forward. And so they use the imagery of throwing a dart. It's not quite as forceful as an arrow. It's this. I'm going to throw a dart. But again, the release of the dart coincides with my tongue, and I feel the wind here. The energy, still energetic wind stream, just not quite as much energy as the arrow. 1, 2, 3. What about piano dynamics? Well, their imagery for piano dynamics is paper airplane. How we just want the paper airplane to lift across the room. Again, I release the paper airplane with my tongue. 2, 3. In summary, once again, this is a skill that must be practiced. Because you have these visual and tactile cues, you need to do this somewhere where you can see yourself. And so if you're looking at yourself here, what happens to my breathing apparatus? Oh, yeah, I'm not making good room. So find a mirror somewhere that you can see your whole upper body, or take a video of yourself doing this. Remember, you've got to practice this. This is these skills we want to program into the operating system. That is my mini masterclass for the fundamentals of breathing. Be sure to click like or subscribe if you'd like to see more Denver Brass Mini Masterclasses.